Dawn scrapes a pale edge across the hangars when the Wellington rolls to a stop. Tires ticking on expansion joints. The canopy slides, and air that smells of damp heather and hot oil rushes in. McAllister sits back and lets his hands find stillness on his thighs. Collins pops the side hatch. The ladder clatters down. Ground crew swarm with a choreographed greed for bolts and stories. Leading aircraftman, Taff, Evans already halfway under the nose. Fingers on the scorched bezel of the Lee light like a parishioner touching a relic. How'd she throw? Evans asks, face sooted by nights that never quite end. Hughes unplugs his headset, shoulders stiff. Like a sun, he says, and sees the grin pass through four men at once. The way warmth runs through iron. In the debrief hut, corrugated tin sweating from the first touch of day, the blackboard waits. Chalk nubs soft as bones. Squadron leader Peter Kerslake leans over the table. Tie off. Eyes as red as switches in the dark. Talk me on, he says. Pencil ready. Price unrolls his chart. The pencil lines from 3 hours ago now official roads on paper. ASV contact at 7 miles. No METOX reaction. Closed to 8/10. Light on. Drop at 001. He taps the little cross he had drawn over water. McAllister stares at his cup as if the tea will tell him whether he killed a thing or only frightened it into a new life. We had her, he says finally. I think we had her. Kerslake waits a beat for certainty that can't be given. Then nods once anyway. He writes the words that will become a rumor by noon. A report by dusk. A doctrine by the end of the week. Effective. Surprise achieved. Enemy attempted crash dive under illumination. Evans brings the light's cracked lens ring on a rag. She took a knock when you hauled over the wash. He says. Apology tucked behind pride. We'll ring it true and have her burning for stand to. On a bench. A fitter opens the arc housing. The carbon rods scored and glittering like the ends of pencils sharpened in a hurry. He blows grit away. Gentle as a man clearing dust from a newborn's cheek. By afternoon the hangar smells of coffee and resin cement as a second Wellington takes its turn under the nose hoist. A corporal with fingers like calipers lines the beam with a plumb bob that swings and slows and points to the floor as if to say, the sea is down there. And you will find what hides on it. In the ops room, a chalked list of call signs gains 2 letters, LL, like a benediction. Night drops without ceremony. Cloud at 800 feet. Wind backing southwest. Visibility good over patchy whitecaps. The second crew climbs in, pilot officer Nigel Voss at the left seat. Too young by a year but made older by the way he listens. His navigator, Sergeant Ruthven, Ruthie, Marks, checks the pencil behind his ear and the spare tucked in his sock. Radar operator Lack Janet, Jan, Fairchild, drafted to Coastal Command because she could coax clean signal out of dirty circuits, pats the ASV set. Its face as blank and hopeful as a chapel door. At 2211 they're 10 miles west of Ushant. Blacked out lane under them running toward the shipping routes like a rumor. Fairchild's voice is soft and exact. Paint at 6.5. Bearing red 18. No reciprocal. Marks looks up from the grid. He's not listening for us. He says, poor devil. Voss trims a whisper of rudder. The Wellington leans into the scent. The sea below is a single sheet of graphite stroked by wind. There is nothing. And then there is a different kind of nothing. A wrongness so small a body feels it before a mind knows it. Range 3. Fairchild says. 2. 1.2. Skipper. He's ours. On a low conning tower. A skinny coxswain in a watch cap lifts his face just as the wind backs. He thinks he hears a cello. The way an engine hum bends against cloud. He swallows and decides not to wake the captain. The stars seem to dip. Stand by light, Voss says, and feels the aircraft tense around him. A hound on a short leash. The Ame, belly down, calls the moment before it happens. There. The switch goes over. The Atlantic becomes a stage and the actors forget their lines. The Lee light wipes the varnish from the night and leaves a working surface, clean. Brutal. Impossible to argue with. Spray crystallizes. A white wake arrows away from a U-boat that has suddenly publicly remembered how mortal men move. Tiny figures on the bridge claw at the hatch lip as if it is the edge of the world. A machine gun stutters 3 embarrassed tracers that go nowhere at all. Steady, hold, now. 4 cans lift and are gone. The Wellington lurches light. The first detonation barks. The second thumps. The third shudders deep. The fourth folds a wall of water at the U-boat's quarter. Voss rides the slab like a man taking a barroom punch and choosing not to spill. Contact washed out, Fairchild says. And then, a heartbeat later, stern up, he's broken surface aft of Boyle. The light sides. The beam finds a smear of paint and a number no one can read. The boat slides under like a thought someone refuses to finish. Marks draws his line and adds a word no one taught him at navigation school, hunted. They run the cone for 10 long seconds. Then douse. The dark slams home. A door with no keyhole. Voss breathes. A sound like cloth tearing. Home on bearing, he says, though no one needs to be told. In the tail, the gunner, who did nothing and everything, watches the ocean trying to remember what it looked like before it was shown itself. In the crew's mess at 3:10, there is stew that insists it is hot because it is not cold. Men and 2 women eat without speaking for a minute that feels like gratitude. Someone taps the lid of a jam jar and calls it a depth charge. Someone else laughs too hard. A runner from the tower sticks his head in. Ops says the Admiralty wants timings by 9. And Wing says boil those Metox rumors off the board. They don't hear MK. 3. Not at that frequency. He leaves before anyone can decide whether to believe him. At a corner table, Kerslake traces the Biscay with a nail. They will learn, he says to no one. And then we will learn again. He looks up at the watch chart. Back out at dusk. By the hangar doors, Evans leans his shoulder into the light's housing one more time, listening for the note he trusts most, a mechanical contentment that says the world will become day when a human hand chooses it. Beyond the doors, gulls argue with dawn. Somewhere over the horizon, a radio operator in a German boat wraps his headphones tighter and pretends night is still what it was.